Hello everyone, welcome to the Fingerless Gloves podcast, episode number 2. Although this is the first episode that is appearing on social platforms and audio listening platforms, we have already done one episode and it was shit. You guys will never ever hear that episode or see it, so be it. I will take that to my grave, and if it ever leaks, then it's not, if I wind up dead, it's not suicide, okay? So,
everything
to
has
give
a
everyone
price.
an idea of what this... Everything has a price. This is the concept of this podcast. We should probably explain for people who haven't heard before, which is everyone, because this is the first one that will be available. In effect, these 4 humans of questionable intellect have been, throughout the week, researching 4 weird and wonderful concepts. That concept could be an ideology, it could be an invention, or it could be a simple question that needs answering. Throughout the week, we've been researching these 4 things with the idea of making that concept a reality, or at least answering the question to the best of our ability. On the podcast today, we have myself, Harrison, we've got Oscar, we've got Max, and we've got Sten. This is an international podcast. Oscar and myself are based in the UK. We've got Max in Germany, and we've got Sten in the Netherlands. So please bear with us if the internet quality isn't fantastic. We are spanning the globe. Throughout this week, obviously, we've been researching these 4 concepts. We don't know who's come up with which concept yet. Part of the fun of this is to find out who has come up with which thing. And this week, those 4 concepts are zipline travel.
First of all, you can't just have unlimited energy. You can't just say liquid nitrogen and electromagnets. You can't just...
Why not? Why
would have
not?
to-
You're a hater. Minecraft, but it's braille. Already exists, and it's called Lego. Wrestling a hammerhead shark. I've been in contact with someone who has wrestled a shark.
Oh, really?
Whoa! And when was a fart not funny?
We leave a paraplegic person in the forest for long enough.
So those are the 4 things that we have been looking into with the intention to try and make them a reality, or at least answer the question that they pose. So I think without further ado, let's head straight in to our first concept, and that would lie with Max. Max, which of the 4 concepts was yours this week?
So I picked wrestling a hammerhead shark.
Ho-ho! Okay.
Because
Something I
obviously
think
it's
about
one
all
of the
the time.
fundamental questions of life and death, actually. So when I went into it, really, I thought about, first of all, you have to have some prerequisite considerations. Like, do you wrestle on water or land? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who has the upper hand?
So we're talking
who
about
has
an
the upper
actual
hand?
wrestling match here.
Hammerhead shark, yeah, of course.
Okay.
Everything else would be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Anyway, so thereby I asked myself, like, what is actually the goal of wrestling a hammerhead shark? And really, I took more the self-defense angle, and then you're not just trying to wrestle and pin it, but you're trying to choke it out, really, or strangle it. So
Right.
the land-based solution was fairly easy because you then just walk away, and that is very effective but quite boring. So I looked...
So your solution to
Self-defense
wrestling a
is
hammerhead
boring.
shark is to just walk away.
It's the best defense, just run.
Right. Don't you do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well? Surely you could have come
I
up with
do.
something a bit more creative.
I do, and that's where the water-based solutions come in.
Oh, I see. Right, okay.
It's a lot about
Brazilian
effectiveness,
Jiu-Jitsu is notoriously effective underwater.
Quite hard to run away there as well.
Yeah.
First of all, I wouldn't recommend, so please don't wrestle a hammerhead shark underwater, because you're very likely going to lose. But then I thought, how would you? And like, you see videos on internet just like not swimming away and engaging their predatory instincts, but like that's not fun. So get full on in. And there are 2 different types, just a bit of martial arts background, of putting someone to sleep. One is a choke, which basically restricts the air supply, and the other one is a classic strangle, which restricts the blood flow to the brain.
Okay.
And therefore I prepared a couple of slides to illustrate that a bit better.
On choking and strangling.
Here we go.
Is this suitable for work? Whatever it is that you're about to
This is an
share.
educational podcast.
It is an educational podcast. So what we
What are
see
we
here is
looking
the
at here,
anatomy.
Max?
And so
Is
it's
that
like
a fetus?
so the upper bit is an embryo, so actually could turn into a human, and the lower bit is a regular shark. So you see like comparative biology, which in and of itself is quite interesting. But what you want to do really is to compress the artery which leads from the gills to the brain, which in this case is probably a white shark or like a regular shark, proves to be quite difficult. So
Right.
I thought a possible solution could look like that.
So for our audio listeners, we should probably explain what it is. Sten, do you want to take the opportunity to explain what it is that we're seeing here?
Seeing a very cartoony, I would say, Dora the Explorer inspired hammerhead shark. He's very polite.
They
He's
all
very
are.
friendly. He's very child friendly, I'd say. And then what can only
What's
be
happening to
described
it
as
does not
a
look child friendly.
well, what is happening to it can only be described as a stick, a figure that looks a bit like a blue ant straddling it on its back next to its dorsal fin, and its very long arms are around the would you say the neck of the
Excellent.
of the shark.
So it's
And-
obviously
and I've got to say,
anatomically
the hammerhead looks
accurate.
really happy about what's happening.
And
Well,
may
some
I
people
say-
like a bit of blood flow restriction, don't they?
Hey,
Max, I think it's very sweet of you to include the vector stock source as well.
where you got where you got the vector from? Yeah.
Very sweet.
Well, you
Gotta
have to
cite
cite your
your
sources, don't you? It is a
exactly.
bit academical here, isn't it? Anyway, so this would basically you would try something called a rear naked choke, which should probably be called a rear naked strangle, where you would try to constrict both carotid arteries, which is
Sorry, did you say
probably a
rear naked strangle?
yes. So it's
Which
called that
one of you
way.
is naked in this scenario?
Do you go fully
but you're
close into the
both
water? Have you ever seen a shark wear pants?
I have.
So,
No,
so you're really on a naked shark.
Okay. Yeah.
No,
With you.
it's behind the neck. But because this is probably quite a low probability of success, I ventured into chokes, which is restricting airflow, which doesn't make a lot of sense underwater, but oxygen flow in that case would be something called a guillotine, which is referred to from a
That's good
from a
because of the gills.
BJJ. Yeah, exactly. So you
Right.
basically take your fingers and stick them into the gills.
No.
Classic
it is-
BJJ move. I think I've seen that.
I tell you.
That's one of Joe Rogan's
It would
special
be-
moves, isn't it?
Yeah, he probably never heard of it, but he'd definitely be fascinated by the guillotine.
Guillotine.
Yeah, and that's probably my claim to fame in BJJ. The
And,
only one I've ever.
what style of gloves are you wearing when performing the guillotine?
Oh, that's actually a very interesting question. I didn't think about that. So technically, you would do it barehanded, but like anything that could increase friction, like with little hooks on it, would be like very effective. The guillotine
so-
glove.
Here's one of my passing thoughts that I kind of expanded upon, and I might just hand you that. Sharks have very sandpapery skin, don't they? They're very tough.
Oh,
so
yeah.
I think as a human, you have, you've got the opposable thumb, so yeah, you can do the chokes and everything, and you have the they have the teeth, but you can use their sandpaper skin against them, can't you?
So with that in mind, what you just said there, Sten, I actually have. I've been in contact with someone who has wrestled a shark,
Yes.
and I tell you now, this is pure coincidence that this has happened, right? So I'm just going to whiz through sort of my sort of research that I did on this. basically, I started with
You're
I started looking at where you could find a hammerhead shark, and I found where you'd find hammerhead sharks. And I'm thinking, no, how does this work? And I thought, I don't actually want to harm an animal. So then I thought I'd go down the sneaky route, and I would find something called hammerhead that I could wrestle. And what I found is the Southwest Florida League Hammerhead rugby team. And they're a rugby team in Florida. And I messaged them. And I said, what I said to them was, I said, hi, I'm aware this is an obscure message to receive, but I'm hoping you guys might be able to help me with something. My friends and I run a podcast in which we come up with obscure concepts and see if we can make them a reality. One of the concepts this week is wrestling a hammerhead shark. Given the fact that I have no interest in actually attempting to harm a real shark, let alone harm myself, I figured I would see if I could find an alternative that might satisfy the prompt, and I came across you guys. I'm based in the UK and have no real intention of flying out to see if I can wrestle one of you guys. I have no doubt in my mind you would absolutely annihilate me. Instead, I'm merely looking for an answer to the totally hypothetical, for the sake of the podcast prompt. If we had the means of getting to you, would one of your hammerheads agree to wrestle me? And they responded.
Yes.
And they said, hi, thanks for contacting us. We've received your message and appreciate you reaching out. They then said afterwards, brother, 100%. We are Floridians. And he then goes on to say, I've caught quite a few sharks in my days and had to wrestle one or two by the tail to get them in the boat. So wrestling a lad from the UK would be no issue at all. So I responded, you absolute bloody legend. Best response I could have hoped for. Have you ever had to wrestle a hammerhead specifically? He said, sadly, no. A gator or two and some bull sharks, but hammerheads are a tad more aggressive and have seen some buddies lose a finger or two, so you've got to be careful.
Oh, wow.
I then asked, are there any specific techniques that you would recommend for landing a shark? What he said was, cut baits or live baits work well here, ladyfish, bait fish, etc. Paddle that bad boy out into the water 100 to 200 meters or so. Let that thing sit out, and once you land it, you have to fight the shark until it's too tired. Reel him in and let him sit for a second, not too long since they need water to move through the gills to stay alive. Have one person hold the rod, one person goes in the water behind the shark, grab the tail and under the stomach and hoist that prize up for your buddies to see. So, although, yes, I guess the shark's skin is sandpapery, people do it. They do wrestle sharks in order to bring them on board.
Incredible.
And, I don't even know what this chap's name is, but he is obviously maybe the manager. I'm guessing he's a player for the
He's the legend.
SWFL Hammerhead rugby team
in
Florida.
I think maybe you should inspire him to try the guillotine. I think that's his move. Lift him up by the gills.
You should send me the PNG and I'll ping it over to him.
I think how that should work, Harrison, is they are the shark and they're on a boat. So that means that you need to for full surprise effect, you need to take the position of the shark. You need to be underwater and you need to come up and then start fighting him. Half in the boat, half out of the boat. You can pull him into the water. He can pull you on, and then we see where it ends. We see where it lands.
Okay,
you know.
Okay. Well, we can make it work. I mean, they said when I spoke to him, he said he's up for doing it. So if we can get the money together to fly me out to Florida, then I'm up for it.
I think let's just blow any budget we can possibly have on that. Although I may have another solution to how we might be able to test how we could wrestle a hammerhead shark.
Okay,
I'll tell you where I started my journey. First I needed to kind of imagine why would we actually, in what scenario would you need to wrestle a shark safely? Because you obviously you don't want to injure it. So I imagined it as our lovely Max doing his 14th PhD off the coast of Costa Rica, looking into tooth turnover in the scalloped hammerhead shark and whether that could maybe be applied to human teeth for aesthetic purposes.
It's a great idea, by the way.
Or a xylophone.
Right? Exactly.
Or as
Or
xylophone.
for a tooth xylophone. Yeah, shout out to all the listeners of episode 1 for the tooth xylophone.
One for the true fans.
The true fans. And so obviously Max needs to wrestle these sharks to try and get good quality dental castings of their teeth, right? And I was
Because that's
thinking,
what happens
how
at
can
the
we test
dentist.
this? Exactly, we've got rolling teeth just like sharks, and I thought, we need to. Like, we don't have the budget to go to Costa Rica, so maybe we could do it in like a local pool. And I thought maybe we could get like a shark-shaped inflatable, obviously a hammerhead shark-shaped inflatable, and somehow simulate, because like fish have like swim bladders, right, that control their
the buoyancy,
level in the
yeah.
water. Although side note, sharks don't, because they're cartilaginous, and I think they just control it with like the fats and oils of different densities in the. I've been
That's
looking
what I
into
do.
it,
Yeah,
but I think
that's what I do actually. Yeah, I'm mainly fats and oils, so you know.
fats and oils, exactly, and then just keep kicking to go down, exactly.
Yeah.
And I thought we could just get one of these inflatables, somehow make it buoyant such that it sits about 2 to 3 meters below the water level in a pool, right? We rig this pool with cameras below and above, with a diving board, with Max in his BJJ outfit, or I don't
Love
know,
it.
maybe from the sounds of the rear naked hole, maybe he's not wearing any clothes. And he dives into the pool. And obviously, Max, you can use all those techniques, the strangling, the choking,
All your
other
favourites.
sexual moves.
All my favorites.
All the favourites. And then that got me thinking, wow, that's going to be pretty crazy to watch. I think I'd probably watch a TV show of this. Then I thought, naturally that just snowballs into buying the rights to Shark Tank, the TV show, renaming it, turning it into like some crazy Robot Wars thing. Can you imagine if you had underwater Robot Wars against sharks? It'd be amazing. Especially if you threw people of different martial arts disciplines into the water with the robots.
I mean, we're basically just coming along. We're getting pretty close to Mortal Kombat at this point, aren't we? I'm pretty sure there's a shark in
But
Mortal
underwater.
Kombat with a lot of. I mean, if it's all underwater,
Everyone loves slow-mo.
Mortal Kombat, the underwater level.
Yes. And I'd way prefer watching that version of Shark Tank.
I think we should. We could play it. I think that would be an awesome video game
I agree.
where you either play as a martial artist or as a shark or as a robot.
Yeah,
I think we
I'd
should
play
pitch
that
that to Take-Two. It's like the next Tekken underwater.
Yes.
Yes, let's do it.
Okay,
So
cool.
is that what we're taking from this? We're going to make a whole video game? Or is it the multi-million-pound show? Or is it the Florida trip?
I mean, at the moment, I'm thinking the Florida trip is probably the least expensive. Sten, did you have anything else for us?
I must confess, I didn't have much more than some, just to inject some extra ideas of using sandpaper skin and head shape,
Okay, cool.
for leverage and stuff. So,
Well,
I don't think I'll add much more.
We've got to move on, given the time. So why don't we next up go to Ferg? Ferg, tell us which of the 4 concepts was yours.
So my concept was zipline travel.
Oh, okay.
Nice.
And
Nice.
I've actually prepared a short business presentation for you
Right.
all.
Zip
second.
business pitch / presentation
/
presentation. I like the Thunderbolt.
Yeah, this is an electric idea. Okay, now just a quick message to our very clever editor, Clevin. If Clevin, if you wouldn't mind, just while I'm doing this presentation, if you could put some kind of background, kind of commercial, corporate, folky music beneath it, that'd be real nice, because I think that would really add to
Elevator
this.
pitch music.
Yeah, exactly.
Lobby
Anything
sound.
that
Nice.
sounds like a Mumford and Sons polyphonic ringtone. That's the sort of corporate vibe we're going for here. Or like the sort of thing you'd find on QVC when you're buying a
Exactly,
a
just
shakeaway.
purely instrumental, just enough to make it seem light and like we're not just out to steal loads of money from people.
which we're not.
So, guys, exactly. So here we go. So, guys,
For the viewers at home, quickly, Ferg has pulled up a presentation. He's got a slideshow that he's running, and the first slide of that slideshow says Zip Business Pitch / Presentation. Please give money and you will make more money. Thank you. By Oscar, age 30. Okay, Ferg, take it away.
Right. Yeah, I'll take it away. Okay, guys. So I think you'll probably all agree existing taxi solutions are bad. If you're in the countryside, outside the city, most people out there, they're out of reach of all the existing services. There's few options, and any of them that do work, they often have like long waiting times. When you're in the city, existing taxi apps, they're ruined by traffic. And we're not just talking taxi apps, we're talking all these hire bikes and scooters, things like that. They're all spoiled by traffic, right?
I agree
And they're all limited to ground level.
Couldn't agree more.
What about rooftops?
Yeah,
what about the upper floors
What
of
about
our
rooftops?
skyscrapers? Like if you're on floor 47 of the shaft and you need to get to floor 23 of Tallboy, a mile down the road, right? You'd have to go all the way down to ground
the
level.
The stock skyscrapers that you
Yeah.
The aubergine.
I'm also, our business also designs skyscrapers.
Bananarama.
Exactly. So obviously you're in the skyscraper. You need to go all the way down to the bottom, find a taxi, faff around with a scooter app that might even want to check if you're sober or not. Then you have to go around this crazy winding route. It's ridiculous. But I think we have the solution. This is the next venture capitalist dream, the next big break for our gig economy workforce.
God damn!
And you'll see here our cityscape
Yes.
has now been replaced by beautiful golden lines of
for the
zip
viewers
lines
at
between
for the listeners,
buildings.
Yeah, can you give us a quick description of what we're seeing?
So we're looking at a cityscape, right? It's New York City, and these thin golden zip lines have just appeared between rooftops and between different floors, and you've got tiny little people. You can't see how happy they are, but they're absolutely beaming, traveling down at ludicrous speed between all these buildings, right? Zip. And you can see our beautiful logo here, which is of course a grappling hook. Which gives a little bit of detail as to how this is going to work. Now, I actually spoke to a software engineer about this idea.
Right.
Some of you guys might know him. His name is Supple Domothy.
Supple
Oh,
He
supple
went
thing.
ahead and designed the app and how it would work. So you can see here, you'd open up the app. It's very much like many existing apps. It says, you can see Zip, activate ludicrous speed. You sign up with your normal mobile details. There's the community guidelines there to follow Zip law. And now this app, the way it works is you get it out.
You're just going to breeze past the zip law.
Zip law we're going to get to. We don't have a legal department yet, but I think it's going to be fine. We're just winging it. So you open the app, say you're on floor 47 of the shaft. It detects your precise location down to a meter accuracy, and most importantly, your elevation, right? You choose where you want to go, and one of our grapplers arrives, ready with a reel of zipline cable and a grappling hook. And they fire this to the destination location using VR-assisted targeting systems, set you up with a harness, and off you go. Zoom, direct,
So they're just
speed.
firing like weighted cables with grappling hooks on them just through the air in cities.
Exactly. Yeah,
I think that
and
seems safe. I think, yeah.
It's safe. It's safe. And you get this. You get to keep the harness for your next use. And these zip lines, they stay there. That's the key thing. We're creating the most direct transport solutions all around cities and countrysides. Okay. Here's just some more slides showing how it would work. This is our Zipcoin, which is naturally our cryptocurrency that springs off of this. You can start using Zip for business. And this is our tagline.
As well.
Our zip lines will blot out the sun.
Amazing.
I love this
Maybe
bitch.
we will.
I love this bitch
and
so
just
much.
one last thing. There's more. One last thing. Thing is, once we've sorted out all these zip lines, imagine the city is covered in these beautiful golden lines. we don't have to just move people. We could feed people. And I give you Zip Eats, which is going to be the future of takeaways.
I saw the spoiler earlier.
That logo is so good.
Here we go. It's a grappling hook with a couple of bits of vegetables skewered on the end. And packages as well. Why not? Zip drop.
I love that.
Nice.
I love this like visually very beautiful presentation.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Now, I haven't given any word as to how it would work.
I might able to flesh out a bit of the infrastructure and general concepts we want to provide. So I prepared a way less beautiful presentation as well.
Just for the listeners. By the way, for the listeners, we have a FAQ page, and the first question is: what if the destination has a higher elevation? And the answer to that question, obviously, is electromagnets.
Well, of course.
And I actually have an idea how you could include that as well.
I have to say, Ferg, I'm blown away.
I'm blown away as well.
That you've put into that so far.
That app actually works, by the way, on your phone. You can download it.
Seriously, because I thought you just copied something over the Uber app.
We'll put the link in the description of the video.
You'll actually get a guy turning up with some zipline.
So what I went into is a bit like how you would actually realize that, and how you would use the potential energy of the building.
Yeah.
So basically, Harrison, would you mind describing what we're seeing?
I'll do my best. Yeah. So for the audio listeners, Max has shared his screen. We are looking at a PowerPoint presentation on which is a picket fence, and the panels in between the fence posts seem to have fallen down a little bit. I'm guessing it's not supposed to be a picket fence. I think it's two buildings with zip lines between them. We have 3 levels, 3 zip lines labelled A, B, and C, and we also have a little diagram on the right that I'm not quite sure what it is.
Something about distance and speed.
Distance and speed with A, B, C again.
Greater distance and speed as the angle gets more extreme of the zipline path. Is that what it means?
So basically, I asked myself 3 or basically 4 questions. One is like, how would you actually structure that out? And I think one of the things is that you have to have different distance lines. So you have like very quick lines that go off from low levels and long distance lines that are actually a lot faster from high levels. So I just pitched 3 levels, 1, 2, and 3. Like 3 is very long distance with a high speed, 2 is medium, and 1 is the slowest one. How would you change between them? And I think like the Uber and or the pitch of Oscar fits in quite nicely there. I was thinking about a manual relink. Exactly, magnets. Or you just program the whole thing on like your zip maps, and then you connect from line to line, potentially even jumping with magnets.
Jumping with magnets. Isn't that
like Bioshock Infinite?
Like Bioshock Infinite.
It's like Bioshock Infinite.
It is a future. It is a future.
It is a future. Yeah. It's not a good one. But it is one.
But we could take the zip lines because that was quite fun.
Yeah. I'm on board.
And that would like disrupt traveling. But how do you actually get on? So the start off, like you don't always want to, like if you're at top of the building, I mean, that is great. Like then you can just jump on. But how would you actually get out? And a great point would be, at least in the beginning, interlinking it with normal public transport. Mm-hmm. So here you see...
you've lost me now. You've lost me. Zip lines or nothing.
He's a zipline maximalist.
Zipline, or you just have to just stay where you are. You're not allowed to travel any other way.
But potentially...
It's part of zip.
It is.
But you could also, in this way, you could essentially zipline out of the tube. Like you could use the potential energy created by elevators in the building and then basically get shot up onto the building surrounding, in this case, One Canada Square and Canary Wharf. And from there, all of London is open to you. And the
great.
fourth point I looked at was speed. So how fast would it actually make sense? So obviously you don't have like traffic jams and stuff. And I looked at the maximum speed a zipline could go, and that is 196 kilometers an hour, which
Is
equals
that just terminal?
How did you get to that figure?
118
That's
miles
just
per
common
hour.
knowledge.
Oh, thank you.
But I thought, although fast, I think we can do better than that. So why not? Oh, sorry, that's the shock again.
Headshots back.
Oh, the VIP travel.
Take a zip line. So you obviously have to pay for that.
It's a VIP line. you have to have a higher tier subscription for the VIP line.
Yes, the VIP line.
And so you basically see now the top of the buildings, the pictographical buildings we have before. And on top of that, you have a line span from top to top with pictographical electromagnets on the end. So one is obviously to speed you up. The other one is to slow you down. And what we then could do is to use some liquid nitrogen and a superconductor to reduce friction, which is obviously the limiting factor, and start shooting people over. And as a reference point,
Glorious.
I looked at maglevs from China, and I think Japan has them as well. And there, the maximum speed at the moment, and they're a lot bigger and a lot less aerodynamic. So I think this is really the bottom end, is 600 kilometers an hour.
Nice.
Or 373 miles per hour.
Now
And I think
that's ludicrous speed.
that is ludicrous speed.
So I have a question on this that I may have an answer for, which is how do you power all
Yeah,
of this?
I have some thoughts on this.
So
Oh yes, let's get the engineer.
I'll explain where I got to with it, and then Stan, you
go
can
for it.
tell me this is absolutely the most stupidest thing in the world.
Sure.
But there is such technology called energy vaults, and they are gravity batteries, effectively. And the way that they work is by lifting heavy concrete blocks at times of excess power, excess energy, storing them high up, and when you want to release that energy, you use gravity to lower them down and turn a turbine. And it effectively stores all of that energy kinetically in this tower of concrete blocks. And these are real things. India is developing them. They say they're 90% efficient. I have also heard that that's not true, and they're more like about 50% efficient. But they do store energy. And
I hope you've sent
that
some
got me
emails.
thinking. I haven't actually.
India.
No, I haven't. I don't speak Urdu, so I would have done otherwise. But no, the. What got me thinking was that the people are jetting down using gravity on these zip lines. So why can't we, with a pulley and gear system, use every single person that zips down all of these zip lines to lift these concrete blocks up in the center of a building, store all of that energy that they have been generating from zipping down, and when they want to zip up, they lower the concrete blocks, which would either purely generate the energy by pulling them, or generate the energy by turning a turbine and powering electricity. Now, this technology does exist inside buildings already, and actually, I really thought I was onto something here, and I was like, oh my god, this is going to change the world. And in truth, elevators do already do this.
Yeah, they do. I was going to say.
And that was the conclusion that I came to. But if we are setting up the infrastructure for a zipline network, we need to be able to power it, and that would be a renewable way of doing so.
I absolutely
and you're
love
going to use
that.
lifts to get to a nice height
Yeah.
enough to do a zip anyway. So
I mean,
So
the other
and-
thing you could do is, exactly, zip down one building and then go up the next building and zip back down the other one to
Yeah,
cross, so you can cross both ways.
I think it really depends on the incentive structure. So I really love that, but you would obviously slow down the zipline quite a bit. So I would propose like a free zip tier. So you basically use the zip to power the energy, so you can zip for free. And if you're really in a rush, you can always take the VIP line.
yeah, the VIP, the VIP zip.
The VIP zip.
So we've got to move on.
I've got some. Okay.
I'd love to hear more, but we're about 5 minutes over already where we want to be, so we want to keep it going.
Oh no, but we need the engineer's perspective for the zips.
Okay, no, let's do it. Let's do it. If it's
And this is the moment. Overtime.
Real quick, first of all, you can't just have unlimited energy. You can't just say liquid nitrogen and electromagnets. You can't just.
why not?
Why
not? You're just you're a hater.
I saw through Harrison's scheme. He was like, "Let's move on before Seth can say anything. Let's move
We
on."
would have to put magnets on top of buildings that are bigger than all magnets combined of the Large Hadron Collider, just to attract someone from a kilometer over. You can't do that. You'll pull airplanes out of their.
You're just not a dreamer, Steve. That's
I just hear hard, not impossible.
GPS signals won't work anymore. Clocks would stop working.
We are yes men on this podcast.
Here's my counterpoint. We're going to go back. We're going to go old school. We're going to go Victorian times. We're going to have one factory in the city with steam engines and men shoveling coal. And I could be sexual innuendo.
Screw renewables. We're going straight back to coal.
And much like an old-timey Victorian, like a sewing factory, where you have all these leather straps just going through the building, and they just bring mechanical power from one big turbine up to the third floor where the seamstresses are making dresses, what have you. I'd like to do that for the city. So much like the San Francisco cable cart system, I think we will just have one big factory where we just create mechanical power and it's ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-chung. And just these lines come out of the factory and you can just latch
really
onto them.
industrial.
So yours is a steampunk
all the smoke
dystopia,
Yeah,
from the
basically.
it's
centre.
zip punk, if you will. It's zip
Yeah,
punk.
Yours is a zip punk.
That's good.
It could be done.
It's a zip punk future. Okay, all right, cool. We do need to move on.
Yes, sorry.
Sten, do you want to take us in with which of the concepts was yours?
Well, I guess I keep talking. I wanted you guys to think about when farts were not funny. when was a fart not funny?
Stinker.
When was a fart not funny?
Yeah, that was a stinker. That was...
Where did you go with this, Dan?
So I started off with a little bit of a meander down Wikipedia Street, and I thought, there's a whole big page, and I invite the listeners to read it on flatulence humor and the history of it, and it's very interesting. Chaucer, I think, one of the first ones to write a little joke about someone farting in someone's face, and then the other person shoving a hot iron plow with like a white hot iron plow in between the cheeks. Sounds very, very gruesome, but different.
Nobel Prize worthy.
Yeah.
Fucking hilarious. That's what it sounds.
I want to do a bit of storytelling for you guys.
Oh, okay.
Please,
I love
yes.
Hang on. Let me get comfortable. There we go.
Oh, nice red light.
It's the 8th of March, 2001. It's 11:42. We're on Kennedy Space Center. Three RS-25 engines and a solid rocket boosters roar to life, and the space shuttle crawls off the launching pad. Up it goes. It manages to get into orbit. And the crew manages to dock with the International Space Station. Just a simple ISS crew rotation. About 7 astronauts get taken into ISS and a few get taken out of ISS. As part of this mission, which is part of STS-102, James Voss and Susan Helms operate the longest EVA, so that's an extravehicular activity, out of International Space Station ever.
Is that like when you join the Mile High Club? Is that for space?
Well,
I thought that was just another name.
I don't think they have the suits for that just yet. a
Stratosphere
grueling 8 hours and 56 minutes, almost 9 hours of
I
work.
can last that long.
These two
That is
people-
an empowering date.
These two people have ahead of them. They get into the what's it called? The airlock where you don the spacesuits. I think it takes you about an hour of really grueling, like physical, like getting into these miniature spacecrafts. Essentially, they're completely sealed, and you can go out into space. You go out into space, and you don't know what's happening. You zip past, you see the ground below you, your inner ear completely, you've trained for this, obviously, but your inner ear still has to get used to the fact that the ground underneath you, and you don't feel any gravity. You don't know which side is up. So you take the International Space Station and you hold it. And that's how you crawl about and you search for where your activity brings you. Maybe you have to replace some electronics or some solar shields or what have you. Every 45 minutes, the sun goes down. And after 45 minutes, it comes up again. So, I don't know, you can do the maths, but it basically, it goes completely pitch dark. Darker than we can even have it in planet Earth. Like 10 times or something. And you cut a little fart. And it's a soft and it's a wet one, and you have your spacesuit and it keeps you cool, and still you have so many layers of cloth and fiber and wool, but still it creeps up. It becomes part of the atmosphere that you're in, and it's the smallest atmosphere you can be in on Earth or even outside of Earth, and you're there alone in space. Zipping past, and the only thing you could smell is your own fart.
That was so vivid.
It is so vivid.
Wow, well done.
Yeah, I love that.
Golf clap.
That,
Wow.
I would say, is when a fart is not funny.
That brought a tear
Wow.
to my eye, as
That
I'm
was
sure it did
amazing.
for the astronaut as well.
I felt things that I've never
I'm
felt
not suggesting
before.
that James Voss or Susan Helms are filthy. They are gems, probably. They're heroes,
Well,
probably.
They're just
But-
they're human.
And this
So
is also
this isn't a true story then.
why
This
you
is
don't eat
a,
beans in space.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, I unfortunately have
Also,
not
they
been
fly
able to
everywhere.
speak to James Voss or Susan Helms, so I'm not sure if they actually did. But 9 hours is a long time, and indeed
Well-
those space beans.
James Voss or Susan Helms, if you're listening, do write in to finglessgloves@gmail.com. We should probably set up a means for that.
Find us on our non-existent social media channels.
We'll work that out for the next episode.
I'm sorry.
Sten, that was exquisite.
Oh, amazing.
That was
Absolutely
that was
amazing.
thoroughly enjoyable. Did you have any other examples of when a fart was not funny?
No,
Okay.
that's all.
I think that's peaked.
So I kind of went down a little rabbit hole on YouTube, and you won't
Always great.
believe how many
Lord.
fart compilations there are on YouTube. And I spent a bit of time watching people farting, and I came to the
sounds
conclusion.
painful.
Yeah, I came to the conclusion eventually that farts are always funny, but humor is subjective. So I have a couple of sort of experiments that I would consider. Now these aren't things that I've done, but these are things that I would suggest in order to answer this question. I say we go to a funeral of someone that we don't know,
Sorry.
and we just rip a big one. I think
How can that not be funny?
people would laugh. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think people would laugh. Imagine being at a funeral and it's a loved one, and you're feeling all the emotions that you're feeling, but you're not only are you grieving for this person, you're also there to celebrate their life, and some random person at the back just lets loose. I'd be interested to know. Yeah, it would. Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to know if you'd be be asked to leave, or if I suppose you'd probably be asked to leave because you don't know the person actually. In truth,
Like, wait,
fart,
who is this hilarious
this
man?
yeah. I think the only other time.
Do you think someone found his calling, just going to funerals and fart in the back?
The only other time that I'm aware of for when a fart was not funny, and again, humour is subjective, and the only other time that I know when someone didn't find a fart funny was in year 10 history at school. Now, Ferg, I think this is right. I think his name was Mr. Code. Did you have Mr. Code?
Yes.
The bald
Audience,
guy.
Harrison and I went to school together.
Yes, we did. The bald guy. He was a history teacher, and he was a very serious history teacher, very well respected in the school. People never tended to mess around in his lessons, and people learned what they learned. He wasn't the most exciting teacher in the world, but he was very good, and people respected him for it. And I remember in year 10 history, we were talking about something fairly serious. I actually think it may have been World War II, and we were learning about Nazis and
Don't mention the war.
Don't mention the war. Oh, I guess because for the international podcast. Whatever,
jokes.
we're going to breeze past it. And obviously this is a serious subject that we're learning, and there is one particular student who couldn't always control himself in many ways, and we're just going to call him Nathan for now. Ferg will know who I'm talking about, but we're not going to give his full name. But
We're talking about Nathan.
we're talking about Nathan, and I remember it so vividly. We're sat there in silence, listening to Mr. Code talk to us about fascism, and we're learning about World War II. And Nathan rips the biggest, loudest, stinkiest, longest, wettest, and most intrusive fart
vivid.
you
It's
have
too vivid.
ever heard in your entire life. Now, we are children, and we absolutely piss ourselves as soon as this happens. And Mr. Code, who is a well-respected and very serious history teacher teaching us about something important, goes absolutely mental at Nathan. And Nathan, he's screaming at him, absolutely screaming at him. I've never heard him speak to a student like this ever before. I've never even heard him raise his voice before. And Mr. Code is
so
going
impressed.
absolutely nuts. He wasn't impressed. He was rather cross, to tell you the truth. And I don't think he was entirely fair with his criticism. His criticism being, you can always hold it. Sometimes you can't. In this scenario, the fart that Nathan delivered had a lot of push behind it. This one could have been concealed at least somewhat. So I do understand Mr. Code's reaction to an extent. However, I do think he went in quite hard. So I think that is the only time that I know of for when a fart was not funny.
How do
for
you
one
judge
individual.
how much push there is behind a fart? Can you hear that?
I mean, imagine how long farts are. Sometimes they just slip out, don't they? You're moving around. You might be doing some yoga, and just a poop,
I think
little one just pops out.
proper rating for farts should be considered for a future episode. Like,
Yeah, that's a good point.
I
We'll
think
probably
there's
talk about
a
that
load
on
of
this
scales,
podcast.
like
Yeah.
or like
Stink
substance,
Degrees Celsius.
like decrease.
Maybe we can come up with some sort of artificial intelligence to kind of like discern of the face.
Yeah, that's
So-
a good idea.
Yeah. So
Get some AI to listen
Yeah.
and view.
bit of
Two
pattern
yes
recognition.
I'm sure you could get that from people's phones.
Defo. So I went down. So I started out in a similar route. So I was just trying to imagine situations where things or like where farts are not funny, and I usually thought about situations with world leaders or banquets or the King or the Queen of England, where someone just slips out, and I always found it hilarious. So I
Really
thought
funny, yeah.
it's an absolute dead end. So I thought let's approach it systematically. So I came back to the age-old philosophical question: if you're falling in the forest and there's nobody around, have you ever really fallen, or did it really happen? And yes, I get my philosophical knowledge from Western musicals.
Oh, that was Dear Evan Hansen.
That was Dear Evan Hansen. So, but it begs the question, like, if do things need to be perceived to be existed, and do we need the reality of others acknowledge our own reality to verify its existence? But it's still about farts, isn't it? So, and I thought, like, a fart can still be funny if you're just by yourself in a room and you fart, and it's still funny. So,
I laugh at my own farts. If I'm
yeah, me too.
Like out loud, belly laughs.
So I think I actually found a solution, and I think there is a like hypothetical moment when a fart's not funny, and if it's not perceived. So you would theoretically need a person who is paraplegic, so he doesn't have any feeling in his bowels, and is either deaf or wears noise-canceling headphones.
Right.
So isn't aware.
Yeah, so and it's a bit like Schrödinger's cat. So it's like Schrödinger's fart. Did it really exist?
Did it happen?
Did
I
it?
mean, you could apply
perceived.
that to a you could apply that to a cadaver in the woods.
Very true.
Cadavers.
Wait, so you're suggesting if a fart is heard, it's funny, regardless.
Yeah.
And if it's there and it's actually provable, and we just have to accept, this becomes some sort of weird quantum state double slit
Exactly.
experiment. Like, how do we even know? But we leave a paraplegic person in the forest for long enough.
I'm not suggesting paraplegics in the forest.
We give him a bunch of beans to eat, and then he's gonna fight at some point. Schrödinger's cat, and he at that point exists in a dual state of
Absolutely.
both funny and not funny.
I think farts are a highly underappreciated part of quantum theory. Definitely.
Yes, yeah.
For sure.
we have the up down, we have the charm spin, and we have the funny not funny quark now.
But those are the names for the different farts, are they? My favourite's the foufoir. That's my favourite.
Wow, that sounds very fancy. Wow. Well, I feel like I went down a slightly different route, although you guys have made brief mentions towards medical things. I've actually just kind of been thinking about when in medicine, farts sometimes aren't funny. Sometimes they're actually just celebrated, but not because of their humour, but celebrated just because they've happened. So I'll just tell you briefly a little bit about serious fart medicine.
For context, guys, Oscar is a doctor. As is Max, and a dentist as well. We'll just give people that. So this isn't Oscar's just like, yeah, I'm a doctor. I'll do some medicine on you, no worries. This is
I guess now you've said that, though, I should probably put a disclaimer that please, if you have any concerns about your farts, please see your own doctor. Don't take anything that I say.
This is purely informational advice from any of us.
This is purely education. So serious fart medicine is a very serious part of medicine. Just to give you a little bit of background biology, obviously the human digestive tract, we all know it goes from mouth to anus. You can imagine it like one continuous pipe. That goes down the esophagus, stomach, into your small intestine, which is like 7 meters long, and then into your large colon that goes round. But it's all really squishy. It's living tissue. It's roughly kind of held in the right place by this crazy membrane called the mesentery, the small intestine. But things can go wrong, right? You've got this pipe, and if you compare it to like a normal plumbing, like you can get blockages, right? And with something that's kind of squishy, you can get blockages from like outside the pipe that are like pushing into it, making a block. You can get blockages like in the wall of it forming, like, nasty things like tumours. And you can get blockages within the pipe itself, like massive impacted feces. quite common, or foreign objects. And I'm sure I've told you, obviously, working in the hospital, we've all got our fair share of.
Awfully
foreign
common in Brighton, isn't it?
do you want to hear a couple of foreign object stories?
Absolutely, we want to hear a couple of foreign object stories, especially if they include farts.
I'll do 3. Well, actually, I should say, to put in context, because of this is serious fart medicine. If there is a blockage, then naturally you might stop getting feces passing all the way through, but you might stop farting. And honestly, it's a very typical thing, and Max will back me up on this. You ask people, are you still farting? Are you still passing wind? I know, because if they're not, like, that's a bit more worrying. That might mean that there's
like they look a bit more grim because they haven't had any fun in a while.
No, it's like the fart takes the pressure off. The fart takes the pressure off the medical situation. That is how it is.
Right.
Exactly. Always breaks the tension. I love a good fart. But yeah, I mean, when one of these people does fart, it's celebrated. It's not a funny thing. We're like, oh, thank God. You can imagine it in like a Grey's Anatomy episode, or like someone farting and everyone just being like, oh, thank God.
What's the weirdest thing you found in an anus? I think this is what the listeners actually want.
That's what they really want, isn't it? So I'll give three quick stories. One was a gentleman who came into A&E who told us that he had slipped and fallen while not wearing anything below the waist onto an apple, and that was obviously right up inside his colon. That's quite a typical thing.
It is like
they've slipped and fallen. Right?
Fruits and vegetables lying around, it's dangerous. It's a hazard.
Exactly. All these fruits and vegetables.
Put them in a fruit bowl, people.
On the floor.
Could you see the apple from the anus?
Well, yes, because then you can use you can open. Yeah, we could kind of break it up and pull it out.
You chop it up.
Because ideally, obviously, you don't want to be doing surgery because that's got its own complications. But sometimes it is necessary. Another example is someone who came in who I actually just saw their X-ray. It was someone who had a double-ended dildo that literally perfectly went from basically the entire length of their large colon from their sigmoid colon, which is into the left lower quadrant of your belly, all the way up. Past all the way along under your ribs and then down to where your appendix is.
Sounds incredibly dangerous.
Yeah, well, I mean, PSA, everyone. Like, if you're going to be putting things there, please put things there that are designed to go there, that have flared bases, have strings attached. Do this responsibly.
That are not sharp.
To the side as if you have a poster there, like, hey, just to remind you.
And that are not made out of glass. Like light bulbs.
No,
not made out of glass. Oh no! Is that an experience that you've had to deal with, Max?
Fortunately,
not
not.
up your own arse, but in the hospital.
Can't recommend.
Right.
Sharp scratch. No, but a friend of mine. but a friend of mine saw like also an A&E. Yeah, friend. Bigger friend of mine.
Do you want my last one?
Obviously,
was just
go on.
Similar story. Man comes in. He's got like a 10-inch dildo with the balls as well. Stuck up there completely, all the way up there, and we asked him, so what's the story? Kind of expecting that a similar thing, slipped and fell, but he said, doc, my wife is actually really fucked up. And she was sat next to him and she just kind of shrugged in agreement.
Wow.
Good for him though, right? You just exactly. Admit it, wouldn't you? If you're going into hospital and you've got a double-fisted dildo right up your ass that goes all the way around your large intestine, you wouldn't say that you fail, would you?
Yeah, and it's better that you come. Don't leave it for too long.
Exactly.
I thought you were talking about a different time of coming, but yeah.
That's where my brain went straight away. And it is better that you come. So make sure you've ejaculated before you come into the hospital. Doctors don't want to happen
medical
when you're
advice. Harrison, you do not speak for us.
That's why I put the disclaimer at the beginning.
I speak for myself.
Okay.
If anyone does need any anus-related medical advice, put it in the comments. I will respond to the best of my ability.
It's not medical advice. It's not medical advice.
That's not that is not correct. Right. Okay. So
but farting is important. Is what I'm saying.
Okay. we've got to move on to the last concept, which was my concept this week, which was Minecraft, but it's braille. Now, do you guys know the Minecraft but it's trend on YouTube? You have Minecraft but it's something or other, and it's a different version of Minecraft, or it's Minecraft but it's upside down. But
okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of where the thought process came from on that.
Yeah.
But I kind of struggled with this, to be honest, although it was my idea. The first thing that came into my mind was, well, Minecraft but it's braille already exists, and it's called Lego. So I tried to come up with something a little bit different, and actually I think I may have found something that could really help people using modern technology. And the concept here, effectively, it comes from how braille is constructed. Obviously, braille is constructed using 6 different pins, little bobbly bits, and different combinations of those little bobbly bits make up different letters, and there's 64 different characters in the braille alphabet. It effectively matches the normal English alphabet plus the numbers and some punctuation. There's 26 different letters that you can have
emojis
in braille. Maybe, don't know about emojis. Hey, maybe that's a subject for next week, surely. And what I was thinking is if there's if someone needs to feel Minecraft, how would that work? Because Minecraft's got to be entertaining, and you would think Minecraft really is probably only entertaining visually, unless you could literally feel it. And what I found is that the original Minecraft had only 30 different types of blocks. I think Minecraft now has something like 250 something different types of blocks. So we couldn't do modern day Minecraft because there aren't enough braille characters to go around, but we could do old school Minecraft, and we could set up a new Minecraft build that has 64 different types of blocks, and with those 64 different types of blocks you could associate them with the 64 different types of braille letters. And what I thought is how could someone navigate a Minecraft space? Minecraft is in 3 dimensions, right? You can get screens that are braille screens that can transform, and they'll sort of push up little pillars to create the different braille letters, and people can read on screens, and it can change over time. So I thought, what if you could put that technology into a virtual reality glove? And with virtual reality gloves, you could put air compressed nodules on the tips of each finger that would allow the player in braille to feel their environment, and they could navigate using their thumbs. So like you could look up and down with this thumb, and you can move your character around with this thumb. You could click with an index finger, you could right click with the other index finger, and with your final 3 on each hand, you could literally use them to read the braille of the environment. We're associating 1 letter with each type of block, and with these virtual reality gloves that have gyroscopes in, you can track them in space, have a camera on them that sees where they are. A person would, I think, be able to, and Sten, maybe you could help us on this if you think this is even remotely possible as an engineer, they would be able to feel 3D space, and they'd be able to read it with their fingertips.
I think
what I then thought is,
I
not only would that mean that you could obviously move around a Minecraft environment, it would probably be pretty boring if you've never had sight. Some people never have had sight, so you probably won't know what it is that you're feeling unless someone describes it to you. But Minecraft PvP, however, would be awesome with braille style gloves, and you could have people who are blind fighting against people who are not blind, and I think probably totally capably using virtual reality gloves. In fact, they might even have be able to play better in that scenario because they can feel behind them and things. And
interesting. So I absolutely love this idea, because I actually went down a fairly similar route.
Okay.
So I asked myself the same question. I was like, how could a blind person... So braille is basically a technology enabling a blind person to experience something they couldn't experience. So how could a blind person play Minecraft? Because that's obviously the most important thing. So I came up with 3 different solutions. One is called echolocation. The second one is like a haptic device, which would be the glove or a full body suit. And the third one is like a neural, like something like Neuralink, like a brain-computer interface. So I've prepared, just as a bit of background knowledge for the first 2, you have to have some medical knowledge. And the first one I think is actually the most interesting one. Spoiler. But it's basically, there are cases of people who've become blind at a fairly early age who learn to use their tongue and click to emit sonar.
Yeah.
And they can actually cycle. So they're fully blind and they can ride a bicycle by clicking and like receiving the re-emitting sounds. And actually normal humans are able to echolocate as well. So there have been studies done on people who are sighted who can echolocate as well, but with like a lot less differentiation between points. And like other animals like bats and whales are more well known to that. And if you lose your sight, there's a whole area at the back of your brain which is not used. And it's been shown that in people who can echolocate, so they click and see that way, this brain area gets basically reactivated. So you can, basically could potentially program a Minecraft game where you move through the world. Like you can still feel everything like on your keyboard, but you get the information back via a clicking sound. For the haptic device, I thought we might need to know something, a little tiny bit something about neuroanatomy. And there is something called the homunculus. So
Isn't the homunculus
looking
is
thing.
it is
the new
quite a
monster
comical
in
looking
Minecraft,
thing.
isn't it?
Yeah. So basically what it is like on your, like, this is like, we're just seeing a slide with like a brain sliced in a quarter basically. And it's displaying the sensory cortex. So one part of your brain, which basically registers all the feeling and like you get. And what it shows is that parts of your body are a lot more sensible than others. So your hand, for example, your face, your tongue have a much larger representation than, for example, your legs and your back. So you feel a lot more, you can get a lot more information through that. So you could not only, for example, use gloves, but you could also have like a proper mask to learn spatial information. So you could have like a full body braille Minecraft suit. So this is option number 2. And the last one I thought of.
And we've actually learnt some real science here as well, not just my bullshit that I'm making up as I'm going along.
But actually, it's actually quite possible. Your bullshit. I don't know. I've never built it. And the last one, which is the most direct route, is basically implanting something over your visual cortex, like an implant, and then electrically stimulating that to evoke the images, which will hopefully be possible in the future. It's not at the moment, and it comes with some risks, but that is the most elegant route. And the most.
I'd argue
I think
the purpose of that technology probably isn't and shouldn't be exclusively used for Minecraft.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same.
We should probably be using the Minecraft money to invest in that for other reasons rather than.
Imagine a blind person and they're just like, wait, you can see again. We can do it, and then it's just.
But
blocks.
only
It's just-
Minecraft.
Only Minecraft.
Yeah. But I mean, those
potential for the most.
are all, like, such brilliant
Sorry.
solutions. But I don't know if you guys have found this, but actually there is already a blind Minecraft community.
Oh, really?
What?
There's a YouTuber.
joking?
He's quite big. He's called Chris, aka Logic Pro X Gaming. He already has a YouTube channel that does Minecraft, and he is blind. And that's in part because of all the accessibility functions. Because obviously you have sound, but also they've built in so when you're navigating around the space within Minecraft, when you look at objects, it will tell you what you're looking at. So actually through text to speech, and also from basically the game constantly kind of feeding back to you and describing your surroundings. These YouTubers
how can that work though? Because that not like you'll look around and it will go creeper.
Yeah.
You died.
No,
like,
how can you got to check it out.
That.
It really works.
It's amazing. There's videos on YouTube of people navigating an app, and it just you hear the text to speech thing quickly going. They hear a microsecond of it and are like, oh no, that's not what I want. Go next one. Okay, click.
Right.
And then they just navigate from page to page. Really, really like. It's amazing how good these people are.
But I can see where, I mean, obviously if you're deaf-blind, then you wouldn't be able to rely on those sort of feedback mechanisms. And I was reading, before we got these titles up, I saw there was a Reddit thread about asking people with disabilities what sort of things, lesser known, troubles they have. And someone who was blind was saying, actually, as technology's gotten better and we've got more touch screens, that's made things way harder because you're not getting that tangible feedback from dials and knobs and switches and stuff. So actually maybe there's still a place for Braille. I mean, obviously, particularly with the deafblind community who can't have that audible feedback, but perhaps with Braille, with the gloves, but also, there are screens that exist that use like these electroactive polymers where you apply a voltage and it changes the shape of whatever that material is to make the Braille screens. And there are actually a few companies that make like a Braille only tablet. But
so I have seen that, and I was thinking, I'm sure, like you must be able to, right? Like,
I've seen Skyrim played on a pregnancy test.
Compressed air.
What?
No, that was Doom, wasn't it? Skyrim as well.
Was it Doom?
Skyrim as well. You know where it does the Skyrim intro and it's like, oh, you're awake. But it was on the pregnancy test. Because it was just obviously
but that can't be gameplay. That can't be gameplay.
No, it's just a flip.
Yeah. Oh no, it was not.
But you get the idea. If you had a Braille tablet that was like, I don't know, 1,000 by that, or just the resolution of a low res screen. Yes,
I'm raising my hand.
Finger whack.
Yes. So we have quite cutting edge ideas. I went a bit more analog. I read this prompt and I immediately thought. Do you remember? They're still sold, but maybe as a kid, you or friends would have this board of pins and you could push your hand into it, and on the other side you'd see a metal.
Love it.
Yeah. So
I
immediately, of course.
Let's be honest.
I
get my face into it every time.
Of
course, I immediately went on
your penis.
I went on Amazon and
did you buy one?
No, I went on Amazon and I tried to buy one just to show you, and then I thought, well, it's not really. I don't. This is too small, right? Like
we don't have an expense account yet.
Yeah,
exactly. But it's also too small.
Florida trip.
I can put one hand in there and that's it. And I think, if you're doing something in Braille, you want to kind of just have like both hands, maybe, kind of the size of a keyboard spread apart. That should be the width of your screen. So I immediately got searching for, maybe are these sold in larger formats? Maybe there's some sort of industrial need for them, for people to take some sort of imprint of something. No, unfortunately, not really. I also had a quick foray into online gamers. There's a guy, James Rath. I've watched a bunch of his YouTube stuff. He's 10%. He's legally blind. He can see 10%, and it's really interesting. You can see a bit of his gameplay. He really boosts the colors, and he blurs it so that you as a viewer can kind of see how he sees it.
Wow.
And you hear the text to speech, and he boosts the colors. So apparently Spider-Man, one of the Spider-Man games was really good because you could literally say all enemies are red, all bosses are bright green, all NPCs are blue, and so you could just kind of start searching for these types of things. A really positive thing I think to note, maybe as slightly more nerdy men, it's really good that these game developers are taking these accessibility things into consideration. But just wanted to say that I kept with that theme. I couldn't let it go. I thought I want to make a braille screen. Right. I want to have those pins, and I want to like just see what I would see as a Minecraft player, but I want to feel that with my hands, and I want to see the ridges and the lines and the blocks and maybe the creeper. Maybe you would have to be a bit slow because, you know, if you visually, you get the stimulus very quickly, maybe from your hands. So maybe we slow Minecraft down a little bit for those people.
Turn-based Minecraft.
Maybe. So I've got some things to show you. Yeah. So just to let you know, so when you start making something like this, you need to actuate something, right? Like you need pins to go in and out, and you need that to happen quite quickly. So pistons, maybe even pistons and redstones. You know, I've got some actuators at home already. I am in robotics.
Of course.
This is the smallest I have at home. Actually, I think I have something smaller than this, but it's a rumble motor from a smartphone. But with the problem with that is you can't really actuate it and say I want something to move that far. A rumble motor on a smartphone, you know, that sound. That is all it can do. You can't say actuate something to that degree. So what we want is something, I think, we need a stepper motor. That's a motor that you can basically drive to a specific position. So you can say, do exactly one turn and then stop. They exist, obviously. I think now you should see my screen. Okay, so this is
a little pair of hands with a tiny little piece of machinery in their hand that looks smaller than a fingernail.
Yeah, so this is where a lot of my engineering ideas, or at least for my sort of personal fun hobby projects, start. AliExpress. So yeah, I found this. This is one of the smallest ones I can see. So you have this is a stepper motor. It's got a few connections at the bottom: A plus, A minus, B plus. You don't have to worry about that. But the most important thing, you have a little thing, and it goes up and down, a little screw. A ball screw there. Right. And so we can actuate something up and down exactly 7.3 millimeter in and out. So that's really interesting. So then I got designing with that.
Sorry, just thinking about other applications for that.
Yeah.
So this would probably be bootlegged or maybe kind of semi-official sold from a factory that makes camera equipment. These types of motors will be like aperture motors or autofocus motors. So let me share. I quickly modeled something up. This is roughly what it should look like with the rough dimensions that I got from AliExpress there. Obviously, normally I would buy it and then take my calipers and do a bit better measurement. But this is kind of what I quickly threw together. So we have our actuator. This can move up and down, and connected to that is a stick. And that stick will ultimately be our tactile feedback, our thing that moves up and down by 7.3 millimeters. So then I thought, okay, what is a nice diameter? It's probably 2 millimeters. So this thing is 2 millimeters. So imagine, if you will, a grid of these little things, 2 millimeters diameter next to each other. So that would kind of look like this, right? So I just took some hands. I just took my own. I think I did a quick measurement with calipers. So this is kind of analogous to a human hand. This is 100.
These are your hands.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
For the audio listeners at home, we are in what is this? Some sort of CAD design software. Yes. And Sten has not only designed a motor, he's also modelled his own hands in the software.
The motor, by the way, looks like a 10 millimeter high plumbus. Is how it did. It must look like a regular old plumbus.
So yeah, so I measured, and then I thought it could be nice if the little rods are 2 millimeter, and then if we can space them out by 2 millimeter together, right? So you get a pattern a little bit like this, right? So you have one motor and then the next motor and then the next motor and then the next motor, and et cetera, et cetera. I couldn't do a whole square because my computer couldn't render all of these circles together.
Wow.
Doing 1920 by 1080, right? We want to do 1080p. We want to, we're talking about good gamers.
Of course.
Yeah.
This is where we're going to wind up.
What's the FPS? Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Wow. So for the
how many
audience,
would that be?
The 1920 by 1080 screen.
The screen
dwarfs
is
the
now
hands.
6 meters wide
Right.
and 3.2 meters tall.
So this is quite interesting, but I think 2 millimeters apart really depends on the body type. It's like, as you've seen with the homunculus, it really depends on the body type. So you could actually probably space them less far apart and make the screen a bit smaller.
Exactly.
Well,
Especially if you used your tongue. 'Cause it's
Exactly.
very sensitive.
But the unfortunate thing is that this is the motor I could find. You can't really shrink it further down unless at some point you're going to start using individual molecules as actuators.
That's what we do then.
But you could
sure.
make this stick longer and put levels in, couldn't you?
Oh.
So just for your idea here, this would basically be in a circle. So this needs clearance of 16 millimeters, so 8 millimeter each side. So if you would do it that way, this would be the size of a motor. So I can't stack these motors together
I see.
nearly fine enough. So actually, it's going to be a lot worse than 3.2 by 6 meters. So then I went down a little bit in my resolution and I Googled and I found that the lowest resolution you could play Minecraft on is 320 by 200, which, this is like Nokia 6610 era screens,
Nice.
I think.
Pregnancy test.
And this is where
Pregnancy
Space
test, exactly.
Invaders and Snake
Yeah.
comes in.
Then if I would take my realistic spacing of motors, i.e. 16 millimeters, I actually still wind up with a screen that is 5.7 meters wide and 3.6 meters tall. So I think I still need to workshop this idea. I think maybe I need to look at some other kinds of technologies. Maybe
So we haven't solved the problem yet, basically. is
No,
what you're saying.
no.
But there is a possibility there that you could play Minecraft on a large screen effectively with braille.
yeah,
Or a new
I mean, at some
and
point,
have it
maybe
be a
it's better just to
landscape
make,
of push rods that come in and out.
Sure.
or just make Minecraft in a field. Just give them a
Just
spade.
play real life instead of Minecraft.
Just dig
Just
some holes.
dig a hole. Right, well, that is, we've actually gone over there by about 15 minutes. So not the end of the world, but we can sort of cut that down.
cut
But
it. We'll cut it down.
Yeah, we'll cut that down. Thank you very much for watching
Overtime.
and listening. Everyone.
No!
Please make sure you are subscribed. This is the first time we're ever going to ask, because this is the first time we're releasing an episode. So make sure you're subscribed on YouTube. If you're listening anywhere else, whatever the other option is, Spotify, Apple Music, whatever.
Wherever you
we end up
get your
putting this.
podcasts.
wherever you get your fingerless gloves. And yeah, we'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Bye. Tschüss.
Bye. Keep on fingering.